All right, salam alaikum. Quick video today, inshallah. Um, the question of the day is Allah Akbar. Does it even matter? I got the answer. Found it. No, Allah is not Akbar. And yes, it's a big deal if you say He is. One of the most common features in the Quran is Allah's names. He's always using His names. Um, and I mean, there are many lessons to be learned in this, but the most obvious takeaway is if Allah uses it a lot, it must be important. In fact, He even commands us to call on Him by His names. And not any names you made up, but the most beautiful names. Allah Himself says, and to Allah and to God belong the fairest names. Then call Him by them. Like, that's in the Quran, you know? To God belongs the fairest names, so call Him by them. The first part of the ayah makes it clear, like Allah wants us to use the best names that we call Him with. But to drive the point home even further, Allah continues by saying, and leave those who deviate concerning His names. So if there are people that, you know, don't want to call Allah by the best names, leave them. Like, I'm not trying to be a part of that. Who wants to be a part of the the people Allah is telling to be left? I mean, that's how serious Allah is about it. But I guess the next question is, well, why isn't Akbar the best name? And Akbar isn't the best name clearly, um, just because of what it means. Akbar is a form of great, but it's not just like great. Um, it's greater. And I mean, if you're going to use the word great for God, it's not hard to figure out the highest form of great. So if you have great in English, we could do it real simple. If you have great, then you have greater, then you have greatest. In Arabic, it would be Kabir, Akbar, Al Akbar. So Akbar clearly isn't even the top of that list. It's the comparative form of Kabir. And it's not even the highest comparative. It's not like the superlative or nothing. It's not the one that's the best. It's not Al Akbar, the greatest. It's greater Akbar, you know? But either way you see it, Akbar or Al Akbar, you can't use either one of them because both are comparisons. And comparisons can only compare things that are alike, like apples and apples or oranges and oranges. I mean, you can't compare apples to oranges, clearly, you know? Now, Allah is not like anything else. So you couldn't compare him to anything else. Something else that he says, um, this is Surah 42, Ayah 11, the originator of the heavens and the earth. He has made for you among yourselves pairs, and among the cattle pairs. He multiplies you thereby. There is nothing like him, the hearing, the seeing. There's nothing like him. So how can you compare him to anything? How can you compare his greatness to anything else in great, in great, in greatness? You know, it's impossible. But this isn't just me thinking this is impossible. Allah Himself shows us this in the Quran. Like in the story of Ibrahim, Allah tells us about how Ibrahim was shown the stars, the moon, and the sun. He was shown the stars and the moon, and he rejected them. And then when he sees the sun, he says, "That's Akbar." basically comparing the sun to the moon and the stars. He's saying he saw the sun, he saw the stars, he saw the moon, then saw the sun and said that's greater. That's Akbar. Now, this story is in Surah 6, Ayah 75 through 79. And in it, we clearly see that Akbar is a comparative word. It's something that um, it's being used to compare the sun with the moon and the stars. But secondly, and this is something that kind of slips past, is in the Quran we have the sun being called Akbar. The sun in the Quran, you know? And this is a story Allah chose to tell us, and Allah chose to use the word Akbar. Like Ibrahim saw the sun and said, that's Akbar. Now, I mean, if this is what Allah is telling us, it's got to be something to it, you know? And to go back to the importance of, or how we know the importance of God's names, it's because he uses his name so often. Well, if he uses his name so often, and I guess the original question was, is he Akbar or not? The obvious question is, does he call himself Akbar? And he doesn't. He doesn't ever call himself Akbar. He does call himself, however, Al Kabir, which is the best form of Kabir. It uses the definite article. It's complete. And that's the word Allah uses for himself. Al Kabir. So I guess to wrap this up, like I said, I want to keep this short. Allah is Al Kabir, not Akbar. Now, this has all sorts of implications, like how we celebrate things, like the terms and words we use to celebrate things, to what's really even halal when it comes to meat, like the meat that we eat, you know? But the simple solution to it all is just call Allah by the best names, like call him Al Kabir. Because at the end of the day, to Allah belongs the most beautiful names. I hope this was insightful. If it was, don't like, don't subscribe. Read the Quran. Go find something else insightful and tell us about it. If you got a problem with what I said, if you got a problem with any of this, read the Quran. I don't know what to tell you. Assalamu alaikum.